Hello and welcome to our Latina code training video, and today we'll learn how to create a piece of art with code. I'm Maria and I've been active in DIY Girls in 7th grade and I'm now in 9th grade. DIY Girls is a supportive community for girls driven by the interest in building with technology. I attended the DIY Girls Creative Coding Program last year, and I find it really important for us to learn how to use code as a way to improve ourselves and the world. When you teach a girl to code, you empower her. You give her the tools she needs to thrive in today's society by using code as a way to translate her message. As a Latina teenager, I know that not many women are coding, let alone Latinas. And we are not getting our messages nor our voices heard. I truly believe DIY Girls has changed the way I view a computer. I now understand that computers do exactly what you program them to do. I feel like I've been inspired to learn more about coding because not only does it enable you to potentially develop software that can be used in games, but it also opens up new job opportunities. I mean, what company does not want to hire a girl who started coding at a young age and allow a woman like me to truly represent them? I think it's so cool how we served 200 girls across LA during our Latina Hour of Code event last December. Today, I'm going to teach you what girls and mentors engage in that week so that you can teach it too. But first, some facts, just in case you're not convinced that this is very serious business. Number 1, women make up 20% of the tech industry, and of that 20%, only 2% are Latinas, and that is not acceptable. Women need to be active participants in today's digitally driven society. We cannot settle with just using new technology, even if it's high quality. We need to make sure we have the skills to use products critically and, most importantly, create something beneficial to our community.
So let's get started. We're going to create art with the coding language called p5.js. But first, what is code? Code is how we communicate with computers. Learning how to code is like learning a new language, like Spanish or English. It's a series of ons and offs, a change of state. As humans, we change state all the time, or at least we should, if we want to grow. So I think we can learn a lot from code. p5.js is a JavaScript adaptation based on the language processing. It lets you create a graphic and interactive digital experience for the web. You can download the free p5.js software or use a browser-based platform like Open Processing. And that's what we'll be using today. After you sign up for an Open Processing account, click Create a Sketch and preview the default code you are given. Cool, right? Make sure that the settings are toggled to p5.js. You're going to learn about the grid, how to set up your code, how to create shapes and manipulate color, and how to use mouse input to make your art interactive. Let's start with the grid. In computing, we use an x-y coordinate system. We use x for the horizontal and y for the vertical position. We describe the sketch in size in pixels. You can think of pixels as tiny squares that make up your screen. Coordinate 0, 0 is on the upper left-hand side of the screen. Coordinate 1, 4 will be 1 pixel over to the right and 4 pixels down. When we begin coding in p5.js, it's good to start up your canvas with function setup and function draw. The space between the curly braces is called a code block. Function setup is for a code that runs only once. That is a good spot to set up the size of your canvas, things that you do not anticipate changing. Function draw runs continuously in a loop. This is where you would place anything you'd like to animate or change the value. Let's try it out together. First, make sure your syntax for function setup and function draw is correct. Syntax is a fancy word for a set of rules that makes up the structure of the coding language. In p5.js, we need parentheses and open and close curly braces for each code block. It's also important to use camel case when working with a function that has more than one word. For example, create canvas. Camel case means that we capitalize the first letter of the second word. This helps us read our code easily. Create canvas defines the size of the canvas. Let's make our canvas 400 by 400 pixels. This means that the width of the canvas is 400 pixels wide and the length of the canvas is 400 pixels long. Also, note that you do not need semicolons in p5.js. Play around with different values to see the change in your canvas size. You see that change? It's cool, right? Now, let's talk about functions. Functions are the verbs of programming. They perform actions. You can think of code as being made up of a series of functions. Each function is defined by its own set of values. In the case of this line function, we need 4 values, x1, y1, x2, y2, because a line is made up of 2 points, each having an x and y value. There are several types of shape functions, each with their own parameter. Parameters give us more information about the function. Here, x, y, width, and height are the parameters for a rectangle function. 2, 2, 7, and 5 are arguments for the function. They're the actual values we enter in our code to draw a rectangle. Let's try it out together. We're going to draw a rectangle in the middle of our canvas. Delete the ellipse function and write rec 100, 150, 200, 50 under function draw. X equals 100, y equals 150, width equals 200, height equals 50. This means that the upper left-hand corner of the rectangle is located at 100, 150. So you can imagine moving your finger across the canvas 100 pixels and down 150 pixels. The size of the rectangle is defined as 200 by 50. That means that it's 200 pixels wide and 50 pixels tall. How can we make this into a square? What do we know about the length and the width of a square? They're equal. Simply change the width and the height to be the same value. Take some time to play around with different shape functions. This code runs sequentially. This means it runs in order from top to bottom. If you'd like to write another function, press the return key. Here's a circle. A line, and a triangle. Now, try out different shapes and press play. Before we move on to color, it may be helpful to practice drawing shapes on paper. Use this template for extra practice. Now, color. In p5.js, color is mostly described in terms of red, green, and blue values, RGB. The range of colors possible is described using numbers from 0 to 255. For example, fill 0 to 55, 0 is a green fill. The first value defines how red, the second value defines how green, and the third value defines how blue a color is. A fourth value represents transparency, or how see-through a color is. For example, fill 0 to 55, 0, 127 is 50% transparent because 127 is about half of 255. The lower the number, the more transparent your shape becomes. This is only evident when you have one shape on top of the other. The stroke function colors the outline of a shape or the color of a line. Let's explore these concepts together. I want to add color to each of my shapes. First, I'll make the rectangle green with 50% transparency. Now I'll make my circle yellow. I'll make my triangle red with 50% transparency. And I'll make my line blue. This is where I'd use the stroke function because a line has no fill. Notice that I placed my fill and stroke functions right before the shape I want to affect. This is important to keep in mind. Oopsie, if your code isn't written correctly, you'll see a blank screen. Your code won't process. This is the time to debug. This means that you go through your code and check for mistakes. Looks like I missed a parenthesis here. This is totally normal. It happens all the time. Cool. So now I see my page full of shapes. Do you notice something about the blue? The stroke function affected all my shapes, not just the line. I don't want that. Luckily, there's a function that lets us avoid this problem. If you want to style each shape differently, it's convenient to place that code within a push and pop function. Only what is between the push and pop will be affected. Let's apply this to our code. Place a stroke in line function between push and pop. Press play and notice the difference. Let's try and increase the outline thickness so we can see this difference more clearly. We can do this with the function stroke weight. I want to increase the outline thickness of all my shapes, so I'm just going to place it above my first shape and fill. Write stroke weight 4. Remember to use camel case. Press play. Alrighty, so now let's make the sketch move. Replacing certain values with mouse X and mouse Y will make your artwork interactive. Let's try it out. Here I'll replace my X and Y coordinate of my rectangle with mouse X and mouse Y. What do you think this will do? Let's find out. So now you can see that the locations of our upper left-hand corner follows the mouse X and Y coordinates. Trippy, huh? You now have all the skills you need to get started on your mission. Replicate a famous art piece. I'm now going to use a very handy tool we call commenting. Comments start with 2 backslash symbols. This tells the computer you are no longer writing code to be processed. You're writing notes to yourself about your code. It's a great way to keep track of what your code is doing. Another great habit to form early on is to title your sketches. You can use comments for this as well. Just make sure everything is commented here. Here are some art examples for you to choose from. I think of this as a puzzle. You're trying your best to make something that looks like the art piece of your choice. Try matching the colors and shapes. Make it interesting by adding mouse input. Plan out your code with a paper grid template shown earlier. Most importantly, don't be afraid to fail here and there. Your brain is a muscle. The more you exercise it with practice, the easier it will become. Here are some pieces our girls made during our Latina Hour of Code week.
Check out this free online resource for more information on creative computer science careers. Thank you for watching. I hope you've learned something new with me today, and I hope you can pass this knowledge on to another group of girls in your community. And remember, this is just the beginning of what's to come.